The next one is the entire School for Good and Evil series by Soman Tainani, which includes the prequels, which I've read one of at this point. Hello. The light just turned on. Lovely. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with some immersive settings. I thought, although it's kind of coming out a little bit late, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about some books that I consider having immersive settings. And to me, like, immersive settings usually mean fantasy. I'm not sure if all of these are fantastical, although looking at them, pretty sure they are. But like those immersive settings that, like, I looked at the cover of this book and immediately could picture where it was or the world that it was set in. So I thought that would be kind of fun to talk to you about some that strike that for me. So I have 10 books to talk about. I'll leave them linked all down below if you'd like to check them out. I think I loved almost all of these, but either way, we're just going to talk about some fun things. So if you need some recommendations for worlds that you can really get sucked into, here you go. The first one on this list is The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. I read a couple of books by this author, and I would say any of her books I feel like would work for this idea. So if this does not strike your fancy, but maybe something else that she has written does, I feel like that would work as well. This one, I feel like it really took me to the places it was at, because it takes place, like, it follows this girl throughout basically her entire life. So she starts on a farm, then she is taken, like, her godfather is the god of death, basically. And so there's a few magical, mythical type of places that she goes to in this book, and you can really envision those. There's a grotto, which is kind of like where he works, and you see that a little bit, and you can really envision that. And she spends a good chunk of the book with a king and a castle, so you have that aesthetic as well. But just like her being a healer throughout this world and all these many different places is really fun to read about. And like what strikes me is like this grotto that I mentioned, where the king of the dead basically hangs out, and anything like that. Like, it's so incredibly described. Like, I can see every single place that she went to. So it's very immersive. You can really see the places in this book and the places that she goes and the things that happen. So this one definitely takes you into a different world. The next one is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I read this one at the beginning, like February of this year, and I know the sequel is out, and I am not sure when I'm going to get around to it, but I'm incredibly excited about it. But this basically takes place in the world of snow and ice. It starts in a desert world. Our main character, Saris, lives in a desert world, and then through some events, ends up going through a portal to the Feylands, which are all snow and ice. So, like, to me, this is very immersive, because, like, when she's in the hot world, you're hot. Like, I got hot reading it. When she's in the snow world, you're cold while things are happening. So, like, it is very described. Like, she goes to quite a few different places within the world, and each one of them is incredibly described. I could really see what was happening in this world. I could really see the places that we were at. I could see, honestly, everything. Like, the plot was also incredibly immersive. Like, it took you with it. So, like, it was just a fun time. So everything about this world, snow, ice, fae, magic. There are vampires in here as well. I'm trying to think of all the other things that occur in this book, but, like, I was sucked into the story. It took me a month to read it because I was taking my time. It's a chunk, and as you can see, I tabbed the crap out of it, and I'm sure I highlighted a bunch of elements as well. But, like, I loved this book, and I just think very, very highly of it still, even though it's been almost a full year, not quite, since I read it, and it was immersive. It was everything I wanted. All right, the next book is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the first in a trilogy, so all three work for this, but for some reason specifically, I think Belladonna is, like, the one that's really the most immersive. It starts out the world, it starts out our story. So this The other two just kind of expand upon it. It's gothic in nature. Our main character basically goes to a gothic mansion. She's taken in by a cousin who has lost his wife, and his daughter is going the same way, it seems, as his wife. Our main characters can see ghosts, so you have like that spooky nature to it. She and Death are like besties. That's not the right word, but like they're in each other's lives. So everything gothic. The mansion is like falling apart, and also not like there are elements of it that are like creepy, and you are on the edge of your seat. But like I can see the mansion, I can see the vibes, I can see the gothic nature of this. The other two, like I said, just expand upon this, and they also have those elements to it. But there's something about this first one that like is all things gothic, spooky, mystery. I loved it. I think very, very highly of this trilogy. The next one is the entire School for Good and Evil series by Somen Tainani, which includes the prequels, which I've read one of at this point. The way that Somen Tainani writes this world is so descriptive, and you feel like you're there, because like the whole point of this story is there are two schools, one for good, one for evil. It's all under the same school, but like they're two factions or parts of the school, and our two characters are taken to the school, and they're pretty sure they know which school they're going to, but they end up going to the opposite school that they thought they were going to. And the trilogy, or it's a 6-book series, it has two kind of arcs, and the entire series is kind of like this. It takes place at the school in the first 3. The second 3, they go out a little bit into the world, but they still take place at the school. And like the way that things are described is incredible. Like I can see this school, I can see the two castles, I can see, like, it's kind of depicted on here. You've got like the good castle and the bad castle, or the good castle and the evil castle, and then you've got the moat in between. And like I can see it, I can see everything in this story. If something is described, like, you know everything about this. It has a gothic twist a little bit when it comes to like the evil side, if you will, just because it's like a rundown castle. But this world is incredibly immersive. It's full of fairy tales. It takes the fairy tales that you know and totally changes them, puts them on their head, totally different than what you expect. And I felt like I was there. I felt like I was there the entire time I was reading this book. I still can picture a lot of things in this book. And it's been, I don't even know, 3 years, let's say, since I read the final book of the series. So God knows when I really started the series. It's been a while, and I still see a lot of the story and a lot of the characters. And like this world just really is its own creation, even though it's based on all these fantastical or these fairy tale stories. It's its own creature, and it takes you there. It takes you there while you're reading. Another middle grade is When the Mountain Meets the Moon by Grace Lynn. This is a story about a girl who ends up going on an adventure to find the man in the moon, the old man of the moon, because he knows the answer to everything, and her family is kind of poor, and she wants to help her family, and so she goes on this adventure and ends up finding a dragon, and they go on this adventure together. It's steeped in like mythology, and there's these beautiful illustrations throughout. I will find one for you in a second. There's these beautiful full color illustrations, and it feels like, I don't know if you had that feeling, but like when you're in class and you're learning about, like, let's say creation myths, there's this storytelling element to it, and that's what this entire book felt like, was being told a giant story. And I remember taking a huge gap in between them, like in the middle of this book, because I had the audiobook, and then the audiobook I had to return to the library. So I said, you know what? Fine, I'll start reading it physically. And so I did start reading it physically, and then the audiobook came back. So I ended up reading it kind of all over the place, and I still really enjoyed my time, because like the way this is written should not work for me, and yet it did. And like the way that this is woven, and like it's just like it feels what I assume it would feel like back in history, when obviously the written word wasn't a thing yet, and everything was told through stories that you tell from generation to generation. It felt like sitting around a campfire with someone telling you a story. And it's really a story made up of stories, because every time they go somewhere, there's a new story that's being told by the person that they meet. And so this is a story of stories, and it just gives that feeling. So like if you something about this book sounds interesting, I feel like this is a great book to read out loud to your family. Like if you want to read a story as a family, this would lend itself perfectly to it. And because of that storytelling element, you can really visualize. I won't say this is an incredibly described story, because out of the books that I've got here, this is probably the least descriptive book. But there's something about the way this is written that you can't not see what is being told. And because it is middle grade, so it's incredibly whimsical, and I think that element also lends itself well to this immersive story. So like it was so easy to get sucked into the story, especially for someone like me. Like I said, the writing should not have worked for me, and it totally did. So big fan of that one. If you were a fan of mythology, I want to say it's Chinese mythology specifically. And then there's a little thing at the back where the author goes to China and talks about the places that she visited that inspired this story. She also did the illustrations, so it is based in Chinese mythology. The next one for me is actually Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, specifically House of Earth and Blood, because this has got a lot of world building. So I know Sarah J. Maas as an author is kind of polarizing. I feel like people love or hate her. I also know that this series specifically, there is no middle ground. Like I know people who loved the first book and hated the end of the series. I know people who loved the entire series. I know people who did not like any of it. I know that this book specifically was hard to get into for like the first 100 pages or so, because this was the author's first step, if I remember correctly, into an adult book. So the world building is a little complex. But it's an urban fantasy. It's set in a city that contains a bunch of different magical beings. And it also like is a story onto its own. I just really like Sarah J. Maas's work. I'm a Sarah J. Maas fan. You guys know this about me. So I feel like I could have put this on this list. I could have put the ACOTAR series on this list. But there's something about this book specifically. Like I can envision everything in the city when I look at this cover, specifically this one. I think with ACOTAR, yes, there are elements of that world that I envision, and because I've reread that book a few times, but this one I think I've read this book twice, because I did reread it in preparation for the second book to come out, and I know this world well. And I think that even though it is urban in the sense of like it is more realistic fantasy, in the sense, what am I trying to say? It's urban fantasy, so it is more realistic in the sense of like you trying to envision the world, because like if you can envision a city, you can envision this world. But with all of the different powers at play, with all of the different groups within the city, with all the different mythical, magical creatures within the city, it can get really confusing. And I will admit that it definitely does get confusing. I reread this book, and when I reread it, I picked up on a lot of things that I didn't pick up the first time when it comes to the world building, and that was incredibly helpful. So it is a lot to get through, but I can see this world. I can see these characters. I can see the romance. I can see the mystery plot. I can see everything that's going on here, all the dynamics, all of the like I said, political workings within this city to make the plot be what the plot is. And I just really enjoyed this book. I still haven't read the third book. It's fine. We're not going to talk about it. I think so very highly. This was my very first Sarah J. Maas book, was Crescent City, the first book, House of Earth and Blood. And I think it stands up. And if you want a book that like you can really get sucked into her writing, because her writing is incredibly addictive too. Like that's also a thing with Sarah J. Maas, at least for me, is like her writing is so addictive that you can get sucked in very, very quickly. And I learned that with this book. So you've got the plot that's addictive, you've got the writing that's addictive. There is a romance, which is of course all about the world. It's all here. I feel like for a book that can take you to a whole different like on a whole different journey. The next one is a little bit different because we're going into the sci-fi realm, and that is Choosing Theo by Victoria Aveline. This is the first in the Clickanian series. This is a series of 7 books. I've read the first 2. I plan to read the rest, very, very soon. I have like actual plans for this series, but this is an alien romance. So I have the discrete cover. I'll pop the other one up here so you can see what the actual cover is. I really like these. They're like these library bound editions. I would love to own all of them. I also, this is not why you're here, but I'm going to show you anyway. I also have like these inserts that the author did on her website that I would like to have all of them match. I think they're just absolutely beautiful. And I mean, I just anyway, I am not the biggest fan I've discovered of alien romances. I read Ice Planet Barbarians. It was fine. I've read some other smutty type stories, monster romances, things like that, and they're fine. Some work, some don't. This one works, and I think it's because the aliens in this world are humanoid in the sense of like they look like a human. They're just generally bigger. Like they're taller, they're more muscular. Everything about them is just slightly bigger than a human. So because of that, I think it's easy to dive into this story and know that it's more of a sci-fi because like you are on a different planet. There is some more harder topics and things discussed in this book, in this series specifically, but it is like they're not blue aliens, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if you want something like that, I think this is great regardless. I think the romance in here is fantastic. I think the world in here is fantastic. I think it's so easy to get sucked into this story, which is why I wanted to mention it, because it is sci-fi. It is slightly different than any of the other books that I have mentioned. It's a romance about a human girl or woman who goes and finds out that she has been abducted and taken to a different planet and then escapes her captors, and that planet's government is trying to just kind of get everything, all the pieces, because like she learned about aliens now, so she can't go back to Earth, so she kind of has to stay with them, and they're like, we're going to keep you here, but you're going to be like one of us, like we're not going to keep you captive, but like we can't take you back to Earth. Either way, I loved the story. In this world, the women are not going extinct, but there's significantly less women, and so because of that, reproduction is very important, and it turns out that they can reproduce with women, which is why she was abducted with a few other women and taken to this planet, because they can reproduce. And so she is encouraged, if she wants to pick a partner, and she picks this guy named Theo, who everyone else, like in his culture, he looks different because like they all have these like markings all over their body, where he was in a fire, I think, when he was younger, and so they've all like scorched. So now it just looks like he's got black tattoos all over him, which for a human, obviously, not a weird thing. For other Clitanians, they don't see him as attractive, and she finds him very attractive, and so she chooses him, and it's their romance story. I loved them. I loved the story. I loved getting to see this like romance plot that you've seen 1,000 times before, set in a different world. I liked their government system. I thought it was really interesting. You really get to learn about all of that, which it's very easy to understand. And having read 2 books in the series now, it expands, but like in a way that is not confusing. And like the couple in here make an appearance or a few appearances in the second book, because this entire series follows all of the siblings of Theo. So it starts with Theo, and then it just follows a bunch of different siblings of his. And so it's an alien romance, but it doesn't feel like your stereotypical alien romance. So if you are someone who has no idea if monster romance is for you, has no idea if alien romance is for you, but wants to give it a shot, I think this is a good step, because it's not too weird. Like it has things and tropes and plot devices that you would see in other romances like this, but it doesn't get into like some of the weirder things right out of the gate. I don't know what else to say about this. I freaking love this book and this series, and I want to continue it because it's just really good. The next one is actually a Christmas story, so this is great for this time of year, and I just happened to get all my Christmas books out, so I can actually show it to you, which is The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson. This is an author that I had not read until this one. She wrote the Queen of the Tearling series, which I have and still haven't read yet. This is a Nutcracker retelling, but it is a very dark, twisty, turvy Nutcracker retelling. So it's very immersive in the sense of like, let me backtrack. I think I mentioned this a few times on the channel, but both of my parents were professional ballet dancers. They both are very still heavily involved in the dance world. I grew up going and doing things like that. So like Nutcracker is Christmas for me. Like it's weird to not have Nutcracker a part of Christmas. So when I see a retelling, I'm like, yes, please. I would like to see what that's all about. So Nutcracker is not for everyone, and I totally get that. But this was a book that I read the winter I was pregnant. And if you guys were here, you remember I read absolutely nothing. Basically the entire fall when I was pregnant until this one. And this one literally sucked me in so quickly. It basically follows two sisters, one who is, and they have like, hold on, it follows twin sisters divided by envy and magic. Because on one Christmas Eve, this guy, their godfather, Drosselmeyer, shows up who has power and is very greedy and holds like the entire city in his hands. And so he gives a prediction, let's say. So it follows our main character, who's Natasha, but then her twin is Clara, the favorite, and she grows into a life of beauty and ease, while Natasha is relegated to her sister's shadow, ignored and unloved. And so it's the two of them when things start going wrong. And so when Natasha ends up going to like the land of the sweets or the kingdom of the sweets, which happens in the Nutcracker, it's a very different vibe. So it is for people who like a dark gothic twist to their story. And this is like the world is immersive, the plot is immersive, the story is immersive. You still have those hints of the original letter through there, but like you don't have to know what the Nutcracker is about to read this and enjoy this. The story about two twins who get a prediction about one is going to be good, one is going to be bad, and then like crazy stuff happens at the end. This is for you. Like I so enjoyed this book. All right, the next book is the only one I don't own. And it's actually one where I didn't love the series, but the world is incredibly immersive, and I did like that element of it. And I enjoyed the first one. I just think that the second one didn't. I think it's my own fault. I think I put too much time between it. What I'm talking about is The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. There is a third book that's been out. Like it's a trilogy, so it's complete now. I have not read the third one, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. But it follows a girl who has magic in this kingdom that is tied to the catacombs. So her magic is dark. It's very gothic in nature. It's connected to death, basically. Because of who she is, she's always kind of on the run. And she helps this, basically the women who raised her with some drug smuggling, for lack of a better word. She gets caught one day and she's like, all right, I'm dead. Like the king's going to kill me is what's going to happen. And the king does not kill her. He actually starts to use her. He thinks that his son is plotting against him. And so what he does is he uses her, brings her into court and uses her to get at his son, basically, to kind of figure out what is going on, who's out to get him, that kind of thing. And so it is that story. And she and the prince strike up a connection. She is brought in by basically a monk, I think. It's not what you would imagine a monk, but like that's the equivalent, I think, who was pretending to be her cousin, because he actually does come from a title. And so he rejoins society with his new cousin. And so that's how, so she's got, basically, it's not really a love triangle, but it's kind of a love triangle in the sense of like there are two love interests that are could possibly be a thing. Like because of her magic, it's very gothic leaning. I keep saying gothic leaning in a lot of these books, but because of her magic and because of her connection to the catacombs and how much she understands and knows the catacombs, it is very connected to it, and her magic is what the king wants. Like she has the ability to do a few things, and because of that, the king is like, I need you to help me with this thing. And so it's her rejoining society, or her joining the court to help the king. I really enjoy the first book. I think the second one suffered from me putting too much time in between it, and also at this point I put way too much time between the second and the third, and it kind of gets into the weeds with like the gods and goddesses of this world and things like that. So it does get really interesting down the line. But the entire world, like I can visualize the world. I can visualize what is happening. I can visualize all the different places that they went to. Like I can see it so clearly in my mind. And I mean, it's been 2 or 3 years since I read this book specifically, and I can still see it. So that's why I wanted to put on this list, because even though I didn't love where the series went, it was still a really good start. And I think that if you enjoyed the first one and you are able to continue with it right away, then you could really enjoy this series. So, gothic leaning, catacombs, magic connected to death. This is your book. And the final book is actually an entire series, which is the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which is Kingdom of the Wicked, Kingdom of the Cursed, and Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco. I loved this series. You guys know how much I like talk about the series and how much like it really sucked me in. Specifically books 2 and 3, when I think of like the immersive world, I think of these two. We follow our main character Amelia, who's a twin sister, or who's a twin, and her sister Victoria basically gets brutally murdered, and so she ends up getting the help of the Prince of Wrath, because in this world the 7 deadly sins are represented by 7 princes, and so she and Wrath work together because he also has some stuff that he's trying to figure out, and he thinks that her sister's death is connected because of how she died. She died very similarly to how a lot of witches in this world died, and so it's the two of them, and then in books 2 and 3 they go kind of to a different location, and that location is where the story really gets set. It's where the spin-off series is set. It's awesome. The first one YA, second one very much not YA, so just kind of be wary of that. But I love the characters, I love the world. Like, when I think of this series again, I can vividly see where it's set. I can vividly see all of these elements, so I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think, I mean, I know I'm biased because like this series became it. This series is one of my favorite series of all time. Like, it's on that list for sure. I don't know if I had read it by the time I made whatever my most recent favorite books of all time list was when I made that video like a few years ago, but this series is on there, and it's due a reread. I definitely need to reread it. That's not the point. I love this series. I think it's incredibly immersive. If you want like a mystery element that takes place in like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like an Italian Louisiana style town. I know that makes no sense, but like that's the vibe I got from this one. And then we go into a significantly more gothic world with lots of castles and a corridor that's all about snow and ice. So, I was cold during those moments. And it's so good. It is so good. So highly, highly, highly recommend if you want to binge this series like I did, because I don't binge series. I mean, I do kind of now, but at the time, I did not binge series, and I binged this series. So I just love it so much. It's just so good. And that's it. Those are a look at some 10 book/series that I find incredibly immersive. I look back at the cover and I can see the world, I can see where it's set. And I am someone who does not pick up on clues in books, descriptions in books, I guess is better. Because like there's many times I've gotten to the end of the book and then they've said, oh, this person with their blonde hair, and I went, wait a second, they've had blonde hair this whole time? Definitely thought they were a brunette. That's happened more times than I care to admit. And that's about people's like physical appearance and stuff. Don't get me started on locations. I'm so bad at paying attention to where things are set or how they look. I just create them in my own brain. But these worlds and these books and these settings are ones that I see, I remember, I know how they were described, I know what they look like. I now want to reread all of these books because I've talked to you about them, because they just bring back a lot of joy for me. But that is it. That's what I've got for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It got dark outside. Don't know if you noticed that while I was filming. Thank goodness I had my lights out. But I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video, or let me know what some books that you would consider to be immersive settings or worlds, or whatever that means to you, whatever immersive books means to you. Let me know some of your favorites. Leave them down below. Leave some fun recommendations. And if you want to comment something but you're not sure what to comment, I feel like I talked about Gothic a lot in this video, so comment a skull. I mean, there's skulls right here for Kingdom of the Wicked series. A skull or a black heart. The people who don't watch this video are going to see those comments and be so confused, but that's okay. Comment a skull or a black heart for the Gothic books. that I have talked about in this video. But if you liked this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.